Welcome to this episode of Experts on Purpose. The special guest we have today is Esma Kirim. Esma is a creativity coach and a business mentor. She helps people bust through creative blocks such as procrastination, fears around sharing their work, imposter syndrome, and perfectionism. Esma's passion is to help people make a living from their creative pursuits. As an actress and songwriter who also has an MBA, she is uniquely positioned to bridge the creative and business worlds. Hey, Esma, welcome to Experts on Purpose.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Esma, the minute I heard that you are a creative business coach, that was really intriguing. And when I read about you, I also learned that you are an actor and a songwriter. So, how did all that happen? Let me know when and how did you realize that you're a creative person?
Well, I always knew. That's the short answer. I think I just knew it in my bones. I was 4 years old and just singing Phantom of the Opera in my bedroom. And I always had a flair for the theatrics, so to speak. So I always knew. And over time, I think fears came in and, societal pressures and all those shoulds, that we hear as we're growing up. And unfortunately, I learned to edit out that side of myself a little bit. And now it's just been a journey of finding that side of myself again and marrying it with some of those other skills that I've learned, life skills in business, et cetera, and just figuring out who I am. So that's kind of why I do what I do as well. I love helping people get there through that same journey.
Right. So you have an MBA from Columbia University, right? So after that, did you get into a typical career and then realize that you should do something more creative?
Yeah. So I worked in corporate for 6 years after my undergrad. I went into retail and fashion business. Worked for United Colors of Benetton for 2 years in the marketing department. And then for my family business, I'm Turkish American, by the way, and I've lived back and forth my whole life. So it was really fun. And actually, business does have a lot of creative aspects to it. And we can talk about that later. It's not black or white, one or the other. And I enjoyed aspects of that corporate life. And then I decided to go get my MBA in New York at Columbia University, as you said. And then for some reason, after I graduated, I could not bring myself to open my laptop and fill out job applications and edit my resume, like do all the things that we're supposed to do. There was a mental and emotional block. And I had a little bit of a breakdown, if we're being honest, because it was just years of me not being true to myself and not asking myself, hey, what do I want from life? Is this actually what I want for a career, et cetera? So after that little breakdown, and I was working with a life coach at the time, and she made me ask this question. If you had no family, nobody asking you questions or nobody who has expectations of you in this world, it's kind of morose. It sounds horrible. I don't want that for myself, but just imagine that for a second. What would you want to do with your life? I broke down and started crying in the session. And I said, well, I always wanted to be an actor and a singer. It was just very dramatic. And then that was the first time I even admitted that to myself. That's how blocked off I was. And then I applied to a great acting conservatory in New York, Maggie Flanagan Studio. It's Meisner Acting. I finished that program. Wow. And then I started doing different things with my life, basically. That's how it all began.
Right. What I really appreciate you for Esma is when you felt really stuck about life, you decided to work with a life coach, right? And that can actually open up so many things for us. And did that kind of, give you that early motivation that one day you should also be coaching people who are feeling stuck?
I think at the time, I wasn't even thinking that was a potential career option for me. But like you said, I was very aware of the fact that just the act of talking things out with another person, not necessarily a coach, just anyone in your life, can help you gain clarity. Right. I was very aware of this fact. So, and I've had experiences where coaching or therapy or just talking things out has helped me so much. So as a coach right now, I always keep that in mind when I talk to my clients. Just talking things out, and scientifically this is proven too, will help you gain clarity with decision making. Because we try to have conversations internally with ourselves, that inner voice, but it's not the same. Because you're kind of going back and forth with yourself, and your own biases and fears can kind of take over. So yeah, it was very helpful. I would recommend working with a coach to everyone.
Absolutely. So after doing a lot of creative stuff and exploring that side of you and getting the fulfillment, when did you decide to go back and use your business skills and start your own business?
So after the acting conservatory, I kind of, we're given all these shoulds again, even with something creative like acting. Well, oh, you need to go get your headshots. You need to go to auditions, try and find an agency. You need a manager, etc. Go to all these acting courses to meet people. I don't know. There are all these shoulds. And I was trying to follow all the rules, and it was extremely stressful. The acting world is stressful. You hear no a million times, and then you maybe hear one yes. Like, it's already stressful enough. And I just realized that process was not for me. And there is no guidance for people who, not rules don't fit everyone the same way. There isn't one size fits all.
Right.
And that was really frustrating me. So I was seeing parallels from my corporate world, where there are a lot of shoulds and rules, even imposed on individuals and companies that don't necessarily fit that, person or that company's atmosphere or vibe. But I was seeing the parallels in this creative world that I was now in to escape the so-called corporate world. So it was just very interesting. And I said, wait, something's wrong here. There's got to be a way to make processes fit individuals better. So that's kind of where I started thinking of, how can I marry my corporate background with my now better understanding of the creative world, right? And I found this program called Kaizen-Muse creativity coaching, which basically marries the business world with with creativity itself, because Kaizen is a Japanese concept that companies use a lot as well. It basically means small incremental changes to improve. Companies like Toyota use it, militaries use it. And the creativity coaching is just, we learned a lot of tools and proven techniques that help with creative people to get unstuck, basically. So I went ahead and got certified in that. And I started my own business. And it's been amazing, because I get to still be a creative myself and do all the things that I love to do. And I have a business of my own. There's financially, I have more income on the side, and I get to help other creative individuals find their own path. So
that's amazing, Esma, because what I really like here is you already understood how this creative world works, and you saw the parallels between your corporate career and this. So you already knew what the solution could be, but you did not directly go and launch it. You first got yourself certified. And I see this happening with a lot of experts who start their business. They are already the experts, but in spite of that, they believe in the power of doing things the right way and getting themselves certified. So, how does certification generally help a person?
I'm actually really glad you asked that question because I'm going to push back on it a little bit and play a little devil's advocate. I agree because I think it depends though. Again, it depends on the individual, the type of business, the type of creative. I believe in certification if you are going to be providing a service such as coaching, etc. Because not to say that, regular non-certified individuals don't have the ability to impart wisdom in other people. Of course they do. We all do. But getting certified in a coaching program gives you the tools to just do it correctly, for lack of a better explanation. But the obsession with being quote unquote ready before starting can also hamper a lot of people. Yeah. So that's why I'm hesitant to say, yes, it's very important, get all the certifications, et cetera, because depending on the individual, maybe one of your blocks can be perfectionism.
Right.
And I see this in a lot of creatives, actually. If the service or you're providing is not something like coaching where you're helping other people, but maybe you're creating a product, you're designing something, et cetera. There can be more wiggle room where maybe you just allow yourself to do the thing, to just try and start somewhere. Yeah. Because guess what? Expertise comes from doing. And often some people, and I've seen this in clients, can just get stuck in that learning phase or preparing to be ready to start phase. But then when are you ready? It's a slippery slope. So sometimes it's just allowing yourself to, and excuse my language, just trying do something crappily.
Exactly.
You know, because if you don't start writing that book, that chapter, you don't have anything to go back and edit. You just have a blank page. So you got to start somewhere. So that's my take on the whole expertise thing.
Yeah, I agree, because sometimes we want to be so prepared that we do one certification after the other and we never get started. And what you said is resonating with me, because one of my coaches, he told me about this concept called the golden triangle. You learn and then you do and then you teach and then you go back, learn, you do and teach. It's like you should keep doing that and not just, wait always and keep learning, because unless you do and teach, you're not going to get better at it and improve yourself. So that's like what you said, like, is so true, Esma. So you talked about perfectionism as one of the creative blocks. What are some of the other creative blocks that you notice in your clients which you help them to overcome?
Well, there's procrastination, which is often the twin sister of perfectionism. People think that procrastination is just laziness, which it can be depending on the person, but often it's perfectionism disguised as procrastination, because again, people are waiting for the perfect moment. Like everything has to be amazing before they do the thing. Right. So it prevents them from starting. So that's a big one. Limiting beliefs. I have clients who struggle calling themselves a creative or calling themselves an artist. Even a small step like that can be triggering and hard, when do you get to call yourself a writer, for example, or a painter? If you haven't published a book, can you call yourself a writer? I think you can. You get to decide, but some people get hung up on labels.
Yeah.
What else? Not knowing where to start, overwhelm, lack of inspiration and motivation, burnout. I work with the whole gamut.
So a lot of times, all these people could be super talented, but their talent just doesn't come out because of all these limiting beliefs. And many times they do not realize that they are a victim of perfectionism or imposter syndrome or all of these, because when you're so close to yourself, you don't know, right? Unless a coach brings out these um, limiting beliefs and helps you overcome it, it's really difficult to do all of this yourself.
Absolutely. And, my brand, my coaching brand, I named it Bravely Original because it does take bravery to be original, to be yourself. And, I don't think we should lie about that because sometimes there is that misconception that it's just going to be easy. If I were a real creative, it would come easy. Not necessarily, sometimes it might, but that expectation to not feel fear in order to start is something that stops people from starting a lot. So I always say bravery is not the absence of fear. I mean, there's that quote that I don't even know who it's attributed to, but bravery doesn't mean the absence of fear. It's accepting that you might feel afraid or that there is fear, but doing the thing anyway. So I try and coach my clients in that direction. Don't expect to not be afraid. When you first try something, it is scary.
Absolutely.
And can you do it anyway? Can you start small?
So typically, what type of creative people do you work with? Are they also musicians, or do you also work with other types of creatives?
So all types of creatives, really. I've even worked with cake decorators.
And what about authors?
Authors, exactly. Painters, actors. I have a furniture designer client. She's so talented. And also just people who want to cultivate more creativity in their life. Maybe they're not necessarily looking to transition into a creative field, but they are lacking creativity in their life and they want more of it and they want to try new things. So I also work with people like that. And because I have a business background as well, I can help people with, how to make their creative aspirations into a business, basically, how to make themselves financially stable. That's the goal. If that is the goal for their creative work. Yeah.
So how do these people find you? Or in other words, how are you marketing yourself so well? What are some of the things that have worked for you in your marketing?
I think it changes because the marketing world and social media changes so often.
Right.
But generally, I think having a good website, and for me, my Instagram presence is great. Not great, but like not to toot my own horn, but like that's where
it is definitely great because I've seen the kind of following you have on Instagram and your website is also stunning. So those of you who are watching, listening to us, go check out esmakirim.com. It's brilliant. It's done up so well. I especially love your photographs. They're so colorful and vibrant.
Thank you so much.
So is that like a good place to get started for somebody who wants to establish a business based on their creativity? Like get a good website and social media presence in place first?
Yeah. I mean, pick one. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try and be like, I got to be amazing on TikTok and Instagram. Ooh, and I need 5 Facebook groups, because that's just setting yourself up for failure. Right. But know your strengths. Like I already enjoyed Instagram the most. So that's where I focused most of my energy. And then over time, if you grow and you can build a team, et cetera, hopefully you can branch out into the other things. But we don't want that social media and like a perfect website, for example, to also become a barrier to starting. Right. So yeah, but I do recommend having a clear message of who you are, what do you do? Who do you serve if you're providing a service? What makes you different than other artists? What makes you, basically? So when you are curating your social media, it's important as a creative to really share the images or the videos that make you. So if you're a cake decorator, for example, and you want your specialty to be, I don't even know, like lava cakes that explode or something. really make a point of sharing that content the most. That doesn't mean you don't know how to make cupcakes. You're probably great at that too. But if you want to be known as the lava cake girl, you get to decide how much of what you share and curate your image, basically.
Got it. Right. So I would love to now talk a little bit about the Bravely Original method. So did you have clarity that this is going to be your method even before you started your business, or did this method evolve as you started working with clients?
A little bit of both, because I was seeing a lot of reoccurring themes come up in my work with clients, some of the things that everyone's struggling with. But also, before I went into the coaching, I did exactly what I just told you when we were talking about social media. I thought about my strengths and what I want to do, what my message is, how I can serve best. And two things kept coming up. The message for me is be you, because this is the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome in my own life. So I have the most to say on it. Because I was struggling. I had this whole mask and persona I had built myself up as a person, but I was not that person. So it took me forever to dismantle all these beliefs and all these shoulds that society and my family had imposed on me. So I had a lot to say about that. And it's a passion of mine to help people be their true selves. So be you was my message, and also fear, how to overcome fear. So those two kept coming up, hence Bravely Original, right? So that's kind of how I came up with it. So, and then I said, well, who was I? I was a person who was terrified of being themselves because they had a mask up their whole lives. 2, I was a person who wanted to transition from a corporate life into a more creative field. So that's basically my target audience. People who are lacking the confidence, who are still stuck in their soul-sucking corporate role, but are fearful of stepping into their true creative calling. So I want to help these people, basically.
Right. So if people were to work with you, how does the Bravely Original method work? Like, how long is the program? Is it like a one-on-one coaching, or what do they actually get out of it?
So right now I'm only offering one-on-one coaching, but I am also about to come out with, when I say about to, probably 6 months down the line, but a mastermind program, a group program as well. So TBD for that. But right now it's one-on-one coaching. I coach in a 3-month package, and we meet for 90 minutes initially. It's the big onboarding call. We get clear on goals. And then once every 2 weeks for an hour from then on out. And they have access to me through email and Voxer in between. And I think it's a great way to work because I teach a lot of tools, and they have 2 weeks in between to try them out and come back with feedback. And it's not a linear thing. Each session they can bring something new that they're struggling with, and we can talk about that. But basically, we work on creativity goals, creative direction that they want to go in, and also the business coaching aspect that we just talked about with you.
Right. And typically, at what stage of their business should they be? Like you mentioned, they are already probably in a job that they don't like and they want to start a business. Or do you also work with people who are already in their creative path, but they are struggling?
I work with both. Absolutely. I work with the person who's in their accounting job right now and they hate it, and they haven't even allowed themselves to dream about becoming an author or whatever, or a musician, whatever it is they want to transition into. And they just want to start somewhere with me, basically. I do work with those people, but I also work with people who are already in the creative field, but maybe those people tend to need a little bit more systems, discipline sometimes, and accountability. So
the needs vary, right? Based on where they are. Right.
Exactly.
Right. So finally, Esma, what would be your message to all those creative people out there, all those experts out there who have the knowledge, who have the talent, but they are just scared of taking the next step to make a big difference to other people's lives?
You don't have to go it alone. You can work with a coach or you can get accountability somehow in your life. There are great groups. You can find like minded people, other people in that same creative field that you want to work in. Just share your dreams with like minded people because when it's all in your own head, it can be hard to take action steps. So you don't have to go it alone. Start small. It can be as small as just calling yourself an artist.
Right.
Small steps like that will pave the way to bigger action steps.
Thanks, Esma. That's a really powerful message. So, where can people find out more about you? Tell us your Instagram handle. People would should definitely follow you.
Thank you. So it's at Esma underscore Kirim. You will find me there. Yes. And just my website, www.esmakirim.com. I'm in my DMs. Feel free to DM me with any questions. I love to connect with other creatives. And my website is a great resource, as you said.
Right. Thank you so much, Esma, for taking the time to come on Experts on Purpose. You've made a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.